how's it going? Tharis here, and welcome back to another Doctor Who Series 13 leak video. But before we get into it, if you could do me a teeny tiny little favour, click that subscribe button. That would be ever so much appreciated. We're trying to get to 10k by the end of the year, and at the time I'm recording this, we're almost at 6,000 subscribers. We may already be there by the time this comes out, so thank you so much. But with that said, let's get into the leak. Now, if this leak sounds familiar, it's because we did actually cover it on a live stream, but I didn't finish it because it was so long. You know what? I'm just gonna say Dwayne Johnson's the Doctor. That's it. That's what I'm taking from this. I'm not reading this. This is far too long. But today's video will cover that leak. This is from Large Spider S9, and it's called The New Doctor's Spoilers. Hello, r/Doctor Who News. Okay, so I'm not going to tell you how I acquired my information, because that's going to expose myself and whoever I might have produced this story from. Now, I don't work at the BBC, not exactly at least, nor do I have a friend in the BBC or a contact, because if I did, they wouldn't tell me the truth anyway. I'm not going to tell you who I am or what I am yet, because it's pretty specific. What I am? Are you an alien? Did a Slitheen write this? And I don't want to be called out. Rest assured though, the stuff I'm about to say is common knowledge in a certain arena of TV production, so me stating this won't oust me. Sorry, I just felt like I could clear that up before people in the comments ask. I'm kind of here for a bit of attention. Anyone who leaks information is. No? People who talk about leaks don't want attention? What are you talking about? I'm also interested in how others react to this because I haven't heard any real outside of the industry POVs, point of views, and I'm fascinated by how other humans react to this kind of thing. The more this goes on, the more I'm convinced it's an alien. How other humans react? Oh yes, hello, I am fellow human. How are you? I'm also here because it's beginning to feel like a burden on me in a way. But my main reason for posting is the recent story that Ollie Alexander from Years and Years is going to play the next Doctor. Well, this isn't what I've heard, nor would I think he's exactly right for the role, or what I got the impression that the BBC was looking for. As far as I understand it, the BBC is in the final contract processes with a new actor for the role, and the new Mirror article is correct about the two Jodie specials in 2022. They will probably have a New Year special and an Easter one, although this isn't 100% confirmed. I don't think. They also say Series 30 will be airing in September/October. I hope it's not September because that would be leaving it really late to promote anything. With all the filming, including 2 specials, to have wrapped up by mid-August to allow Chibnall time to help promote or something along those lines. Well, you better hurry up. Jodie is said to be leaving, as she doesn't want to simply be known as the Woman Doctor, and wants to take advantage of the level of clout that has come with the part before she is only known for the part. Gotta capitalise on that clout, am I right? Chris Chibnall is said to be staying on for Series 14. His contract was originally for 5 series, but due to COVID it's been cut down to 4. Due to certain delays and other legal things, something to do with the dates of production being what is written on the contract, rather than the episode count or the series count. Someone smarter than me could probably explain. Apparently, he's been grooming Peter McTeague, who wrote 2 episodes and did a BBC show recently, to be the next showrunner. I've said this before, I don't think he would be the best choice for showrunner. I think that would go for Maxine Alderton if we're talking about the current writers, because Pete McTeague, yeah, he did write Kablam, which is, by a lot of people's accounts, one of the better episodes of Series 11. He also wrote Praxeus, which to me is one of the most boring Doctor Who episodes to ever exist. Sorry if you like Praxeus, I just find it really boring. Whereas Maxine Alderton has written one pretty damn solid episode, and I feel like, given the chance, she could do it again. What is happening is that McTeague is going to help out with Series 14 a bit, especially with casting a new Doctor, with Chibnall partly caretaking and partly wrapping up his loose ends, kind of like a gradual takeover. So what this is basically implying is that it would kind of be, I guess, similar in a way to the Tom Baker era, where you go from the Philip Hinchcliffe era to the Graham Williams era, because obviously it's the same Doctor, much the same sort of production style, but you know, with a new person in charge and a sort of new vision. But it's still got the fundamentals the same. I'm guessing that's what they're referring to there. The BBC thinks the publicity of a female Doctor was what helped make Jodie's series such a success, but the lack of monsters and known characters, as well as poor promotion, is what made the show lose a fair amount of viewers. I actually don't think that was the case, because they had known monsters and characters in Series 12, and the ratings still declined. I think it was mostly down to the promotion. Notable due to how Chibnall's finales have not risen in viewing figures, but continue to drop, which has not been the trend during the Tennant/Capaldi eras. No mention of Smith there, which is odd. The BBC have also questioned some of Chibnall's approaches to racier topics, such as mental health, due to complaints about Can You Hear Me? He didn't write Can You Hear Me though, did he? Or Orphan 55 for that matter. I mean, I know he has final say on stuff, but like, you can't blame him for things he didn't write. And climate change, Orphan 55, which apparently received a very low audience index score apparently. Therefore, he has been told to limit this, as well as to bring back old favourites like the Weeping Angels and the Sontarans. Initially for this series, John Barrowman had been considered for playing a recurring role. perhaps a companion, but that was prior to COVID. After COVID, he reduced his appearance to only appearing in one of the early installments of the series, whilst he could be filming Dancing on Ice, in what would be a semi-limited role, but would hopefully get more viewers to tune in. However, after the recent allegations, those sequences have been cut from the episode, and recently the crew have refilmed certain sequences to remove mentions of him, as well as adding sections to bridge the gaps where Barrowman originally was, which has been a bit of a headache apparently. Now I could believe that being the case. The only thing that I wonder though is that if they already had him on set, surely we would have seen. But then again, I suppose they kept him really quiet in series 12. So, I mean, maybe they kept him really low down, and then obviously when the allegations came out, they just cut it. Their plan is also for Catherine Tate-Donner to return, with the BBC trying to keep it quiet. However, she won't be a companion this time, but will be the girlfriend of John Bishop's character, who has a messed up past, including divorce and something about his daughter not being around, which is why he will be living with his parents. Supposedly, she will appear recurring throughout the series, with the Doctor attempting to avoid her, due to the recent events of the series 4 finale. Of course, they end up meeting in the end, but I'm not sure whether this is going to be in the finale or in the specials. Now, this would comply with the last leak that we talked about. It seems that a lot of them are jumping on this Catherine Tate idea, and I'm still not convinced. But equally, with the amount of people that are saying it, I'm wondering if there is something to it. But then equally, they could just be jumping on the massive rumour that came out that she was in Liverpool and all that sort of stuff that was proven false by her agent and all that sort of stuff. From my understanding, either John Bishop or Yaz will carry on in the next Doctor's era. I do find it weird that they referred to Dan as John Bishop, but they refer to Mandip Gill as Yaz. That's strange to me. Like, they don't refer to John Bishop as Dan or Yaz as Mandip Gill. Like, what you should do is pick one or the other. From my understanding, neither John Bishop or Yaz will carry on in the next Doctor's era. But the Yaz thing hasn't been finalised, I don't think, as McTeague is apparently interested in the one-way romance between 13 and Yaz being applied to a different Doctor. I like how they say one-way romance, which would imply that the Doctor wouldn't reciprocate the feelings that Yaz had, which, to be honest, I think that's the only way they could play it that I would be happy with, because I don't want the Doctor to reciprocate those feelings. This Doctor in particular does kind of feel like one of the most asexual Doctors, in the sense that she really detests any form of, like, romantic connection or anything like that, really. There's that scene in Rosa where Graham puts his hand on her, she looks disgusted, and there's, like, another scene in Haunting where I think it's Lord Byron's trying to put the moves on her and she's really not receptive to it. So I just don't think that a romantic storyline would fit this Doctor. The series finale will apparently be the return of the Daleks, with the return of Chris North, who will now be in some high governmental position, and actually is going to be on the Doctor's side this time, to a certain extent. Chibnall and McTeague are interested in developing Nott as a character who appears through multiple eras like River Song, The Brigadier, or Captain Jack. I mean, you can't really put him next to that lot, can you? Captain Jack, River Song, and Chris North's Trump guy. Truly the holy trinity of Doctor Who side characters. And the Brigadier as well. Speaking of Alex Kingston, she was asked by the BBC about reprising her role during this season, but it could not be fitted into her schedule. The specials will feature the culmination of Chibnall's Timeless Child arc, and will feature the return of Jo Martin, who will also appear in another episode earlier in the series to tease her mystery. The final special will reveal the truth behind Gallifrey, as well as the Doctor and the Master. My friend says that it's not what it seems, but is not certain himself as to how exactly it shall play out. Sacha Dhawan's Master will also return during this final story for the 13th Doctor, but is planned for his incarnation to carry on into the foreseeable future. That I am happy about. I want his Master to become like the Ainley of New Who, in the sense that he transcends eras, because in my opinion he's the best thing to come out of this era, and I really want to see him outside of it. With the suggestion of another multi-Master story being declined due to the amount of returning elements for Series 13 already. That's something that made me a little more skeptical of the last leak, is just how much returning stuff was in those two specials. The plan is for Series 14 to broadcast at the beginning of 2023, with Jodie's final special having aired about half a year before, allowing the new Doctor time to breathe before their introduction story. There will also be a 60th anniversary special filmed along with the new series. The series will be 9 or 10 episodes, with the 11th being the 60th. Little is known about the series, but there will be a plot linking to the Timeless Child, as well as the resurrection of Gallifrey, which will end up in the 60th. Of which shall also be Chibnall's final serial. The plan for the 60th is to have a Day of the Doctor-esque story, but more about the Doctor forgiving the Time Lords kind of thing. The plan is to have the other Doctors appear and have their reactions to the Timeless Child reveal. Jo Martin is probably going to be in it, but the other Doctors aren't confirmed, although David Tennant is almost a certainty. I've said that before, he's basically confirmed in my mind. BBC aren't sure about Jodie coming back so soon, though they would like to get Matt Smith to return as well, but I think a reappearance from Eccleston or Capaldi might be too much and overcrowd the story. I don't think so. No classic Doctors are intended to return, unless it is by a new actor like David Bradley. This is because many of the old Doctors no longer would be convincing in their incarnations. I honestly just think, though, it's Doctor Who, just say there's been time dilation or whatever. It's not hard to write around that. I just feel like, get these guys in while you can, Even if you have to do a curator style thing, just get them in. Series 15 is tentatively being set for autumn 2024, but it's a very long way off, so please take that with a pinch of salt. The BBC will also like for the show to be broadcast once more. I will say as well, a lot of people say to me, why do you cover these leaks? Why cover something that's probably not going to be true? And to be honest, I'm fully aware that it probably is bollocks, all of these. But I find it fascinating to see what other people think the series will be, even if it's just complete nonsense. It's essentially just fan fiction with extra steps, but you have that little exciting bit of trying to piece together which bits are more likely or which bits aren't. I find that part really interesting. The BBC would also like for the show to be broadcast annually once more, with McTeague proving himself to be capable of annual productions with The Pact and Discovery of Witches. I've seen neither of those. The new Doctor has somewhat surprisingly been something of contention. The BBC planned for the following Doctor to be portrayed by an actor of colour, however since Jo Martin is now the first black actress in the role, this is now not a pressure. The BBC no longer care as to the skin colour or gender of the next Doctor, as they have essentially covered that base. In spite of this, they would like the new Doctor to be a bigger name, the BBC believe they could potentially get, as they have worked on TV productions or BBC productions recently. On the other hand, Chibnall is keen for the new Doctor to be played by a comedic actor. In fact, one of his first suggestions was Jo Brand, who all parties were keen on. She turned down the role, although they would like a bigger name. If they can't have that, they would prefer a younger, attractive and charismatic actor in the vein of Tennant Smith, but not necessarily male. With that in mind, I will go through who I have heard about and who is promoting them. Before I say who is currently being spoken to, McTeague himself has proposed the moderately unknown Chizzy Akundolu for the part, having been impressed by her strong work as character actress on British TV, as well as acquainting himself with some of her stage work. Unfortunately, being a 47-year-old unknown, she was the opposite of what the BBC wanted, and they immediately declined. After this, Chibnall proposed a list of actors who he thought the BBC would be interested in. It was an executive list, but the most liked suggestions were Rob Brydon, Tom Rosenthal from Friday Night Dinner and Plebs, Matt Berry and Richard Ayoade, all fitting with Chibnall's idea of casting a talented comedian in the role. Richard Ayoade I can't see. Matt Berry maybe. Tom Rosenthal, I think I would always see him and think of things like Friday Night Dinner and Plebs. And Rob Brydon, as much as I would love it, I just think I would see him as Bryn. Matt Berry was the one McTeague was particularly keen on, due to him believing him to be able to have a great comedic wit, as well as the type of dramatic presence the role needed. The one that the BBC are most keen on was Tom Rosenthal, with the BBC seeing him as the epitome of their David Tennant, Matt Smith type request. However, both these found roadblocks. With Matt Berry, BBC did not believe he had the capability to carry a series as prestigious as Doctor Who on his back, with them using the viewing figures of Toast of London and Year of Rabbit as evidence. On the other hand, McTeague strongly opposed Rosenthal, seeing him as lacking a presence required and being more suitable for a companion role. I kind of agree with that. Initially, the production team approached Ayoade due to all parties agreeing with his suitability, but unfortunately, they were turned down due to scheduling conflicts, as well as a lack of desire and confidence from Ayoade to play this more dramatic role. This left only Brydon now, who seemed interested in playing the role. Surprisingly, he was also fine with moving to Cardiff, although that is likely due to his Welsh background. What ended talks, however, was the multi-year contract, with Brydon not being keen on the commitment of working on one show for 10 months a year for 3 years in a row. At this point, talks ended, leaving the BBC in a bit of a pickle. At this point, the BBC decided to try and hire some people themselves. This led to the suggestion of Jenna Coleman for the part, which surprised both Chibnall and McTeague due to her prior Doctor Who association. However, they were both actually keen on her for the part, believing her to have the right qualities. The suggestion mostly came from her rating success with both Victoria and the Serpent, with the BBC considering her to be a big name. When Colin was approached, she immediately turned down the part. Not only was this due to her not wishing to return to the show or return to Cardiff, but also due to scheduling conflicts with other TV shows. I will say, that was never going to happen, was it? Like, Clara was one of the longest running companions. I think you can get away with, like, a Doctor appearing once in the show before, but being a mainstay companion and then, like, a couple incarnations later, whoops, she's the Doctor. No. Also, yeah, she's very busy and I just don't think she would. She did, however, suggest that she was willing to reprise. Of Clara in a guest appearance. Weird punctuation there. To my knowledge, she has not been taken up on this. The BBC then suggested Ralph Little for the part due to his part in Death in Paradise being set to conclude by the end of the series. That is currently being filled. However, McTeague declined this out of hand due to him never being a fan of him. Counteractively, McTeague suggested Tuppence Middleton and Jenna Arterton. The former was dismissed by the BBC as not being well known and not being an actual fit for the part. However, the latter seemed to pique their interest, believing it could be plausible for them to get her, due to her recent role in Black Narcissus. I'm probably saying that incorrectly. Talks began swimmingly with her. Problems only really began when it came to pay, where it was made clear that there was a disparity, as well as the length of contract, similar to Bryden. After this, the BBC more or less told McTeague to write up his own dream casting list and give it to them and see what they could do. In this list were a number of big name actors, of which most wouldn't believe the BBC could afford, and probably couldn't. The bigger ones, Angelina Jolie, Emma Stone, Robert Downey Jr., John David Washington, Joaquin Phoenix, Ralph Fiennes, were thrown out immediately as unattainable. Yeah, I mean, obviously, come on, really? This led the BBC down a pathway of asking lesser known, but still reasonably big name actors for the part. Among these were Dev Patel, someone's watched Confused Adipose video, Shala Ali, Kristen Ritter, Rosamund Pike, Anya Taylor-Joy, and Oscar Isaac, all of whom turned down the role outright. On the other hand, there are a few that took interest. David Oyelowo, I'm probably saying all these names really wrong, I'm so sorry, was actually the most likely possibility for a while, but eventually turned it down after realising he would actually have to live in Cardiff for 3 years. Ewan McGregor also expressed interest into liking the idea of playing a character that children could look up to, but these were also quashed due to his commitments on the Obi-Wan Kenobi TV series, as well as an untitled major Hollywood film. Obviously they're not getting Ewan McGregor, come on. Like, this is just, I think to me this is just someone making stuff up at this point. They ended up though with 4 relatively major actors who could take an interest. This took a long time, though, as Pete McTeague had a pretty much endless list. These 4 actors are James McAvoy, Sally Hawkins, Jude Law, and Keira Knightley. 3 of those are not getting as many offers in many Hollywood productions as they once were, at least not in the lead role, but also still pretty well regarded and high profile, as well as to make a buzz when they are cast. The 4th one would be the most likely have been considered taking the part regardless. The 4th one is one who would most likely have considered taking the part regardless. Firstly, James McAvoy has worked in several BBC productions together in his Dark Materials, which is what has made the BBC more confident in the potential to cast him. He was initially apprehensive about moving to Cardiff, but seems all happy about it, and is very happy to be involved with a sci-fi fantasy property, with him actually being a fan of the show. The only problem is the 3-year contract. Not that there is a problem with it being 3 series. No, his problem is that he would like to do multiple projects in between seasons, which would not be possible within this contract, which suggests that this series will be filmed with only 2 to 3 months between. On the other hand, Jude Law would be more happy to have a consistent job for 3 years, especially seeing what occurred to his Fantastic Beasts co-star Johnny Depp and how multi-year contract benefited Robert Downey Jr. The only issue would be his prior commitments to the aforementioned franchise. A bit off Fantastic Beast, I say. I'm joking, by the way. As well as him potentially being snatched away by 2 other franchises that will pay him more. He's being Pirates of the Caribbean and the DCEU, both of which is being considered to play villainous roles in, which may impact his decision. Sally Hawkins, at present, seems to be the least likely, with the amount of enthusiasm for the role and the least enthusiasm to move to Cardiff. However, she is the one where all the contractual negotiations seem the most suitable. Also, she is the only one that McTeague is apparently most keen on. Last, Keira Knightley is not necessarily happy about being paid the same she would for a 3-month production with a 10-month production, but is happy about the contract's length, as well as its stability, and wouldn't mind the move to Cardiff to give her young family consistency. She has watched the most recent series of the show with her daughter, and very much enjoyed it, and wouldn't mind doing a show which might impress her young daughter. In spite of that, the BBC do have Adrian Lester on hold. If all 4 end up turning the role down, with them knowing he is a steady hand, as he was one of McTeague's original choices when the BBC demanded a black actor, even if he would not be as big of a grab as the other 4. As you can guess, the casting for the 14th Doctor has been a bit disastrous, and I think perhaps because McTeague and the BBC are looking for mostly actors that the former hasn't worked with before, as well as trying to reach for bigger names than usual. The BBC personally would most like Jude Law to be cast in the role, however it is widely acknowledged he is by far the least likely, due to him being primed for another big franchise role, as well as him being used to jobs that pay more. Sally Hawkins also seems not enormously likely, as the BBC nor her are enormously enthusiastic. Most suspect that it'll likely be McAvoy who gets the role, due to his recent frequent association with the BBC in lower paying jobs than when he worked in the X-Men films. However, Knightley is very likely and is favoured by the BBC over Knightley. What? Knightley's favoured over Knightley? She's favoured over herself? What? Even if McTeague would prefer McAvoy to her. Take this with a pinch of salt, as after all, I'm an anonymous source, and have seen the absurd information put out by other sources, although I wouldn't be surprised if mine was discarded the same way. Frankly, 50 years ago, I would have never expected that Jude Law and the stars of the Atonement were being strongly considered for the role. However, it should be noted that it isn't a different time now. I think they mean it is, where movie stars are less and less common, therefore actors are getting paid less and less across the board, due to them no longer being the draws they once were. Unless, of course, you're Dwayne Johnson, Leonardo DiCaprio, or Will Smith. That's the end of that, and Jesus Christ, what a wild ride of Doctor suggestions. And to be honest, this seems like bull to me. The names are just too big, in my opinion. Let's actually read the comments. I'm morbidly curious as to what they say. Scan read this, and it looks like a smattering of unrealistic but unfounded speculation, dates of McTeague, etc., mixed in with total utter nonsense, waste of 5 minutes. I kind of agree with Fractal Rock on that, not gonna lie. But let me know what you guys think of this leak in the comments below. Do you think it's utter nonsense? Let me know in the comments below. Subscribe if you're new, like if you enjoyed, and I will see you